networks, you're going to do more than one in a very effective manner so that you don't waste your time by using aggregation. And even if you're only going to use one like Facebook, some of these tools can help make it easier to do than actually trying to interface with people. So the first one I'm going to show you is actually one that I prefer to use. This is called HootSuite. HootSuite is free to use. They do have a paid version if you need it. Most people don't. The free version have, I believe it's 3 or 5 networks on it, and it's 1 user. If you go to their first level paid version, it's unlimited networks and up to 2 users. So if you have somebody who's collaborating on social networking. But for most people, this free version is going to be fine. Oh, wait, so you have to There we go. So this area right here, where it says post message, right there. This is where you type in your message, and it does have a counter right here. It shows you how many characters you have. And so it goes one of 2 ways. By default, it works with Twitter. And it's what I say when I say that, what I mean is the character count it gives you to have it selected social network already is 140 characters to work with, because that's the same as Twitter. If you're working with Facebook, when you check the network that you want to post to, if it's Facebook, it'll reset that counter to the appropriate character count for Facebook, which is like 480 or 460 characters. So it gives you a very real idea of how long your message is.
It's like HootSuite does, all you do Twitter, Facebook, how does it choose which one it's going to use?
Yeah, questions? Whoops, there's the next one I'm going to show you.
I'm like, obviously, I want Facebook just because it has more letters that I can maybe.
Right. Just because it has more letters, more characters that you can use, doesn't mean that's necessarily the best place to post all the time. And we'll talk about that in a second. But this area right over here, you can see there's one table of squares. These are all the social networks that I have attached to my computer account. And so I just go in here and I just check the one that I want to use. And so if I was going to post something, like this is going to go to my Twitter account. Boom. So I would just type it in and check that I wanted to go to my Twitter account, and I can hit send. Now, most aggregation tools also offer a scheduling feature, which is really nice. So if you have half an hour and you know that there's certain messages you want to put out either throughout the day or throughout the next couple of days, you can schedule it. And that's what this little box is right over here. You just tap that, and then a calendar pops up. You can choose the day and the time. And in terms of minutes, it works every 5 minutes is what you can choose from. So if you want to send it at like 2:23, you're out of luck, but you can send it at 2:25 or 2:20. So you just choose your day and your time, and then you hit done, and then hit schedule, and it will automatically go. And the great thing about HootSuite is that, excuse me, you do not have to have HootSuite running in order for it to post it, because it is a web-based environment. Once it's scheduled, it's hosted on somebody else's machine, it will still go even if you aren't logged into the which is really kind of nice. So I'll post this now. The other thing you can do here is put links in. So if you wanted to push,
So like, you're typing it up and you click the little box so that it's going to your Twitter account.
Correct.
But if you wanted it to go to Twitter and Facebook, you can click whichever one you want and send it out to all of them.
I can send it out to every network I'm connected to at the same time if I wanted to. You don't have to. You can choose one, you can choose the other, you can choose both, depending on how it's set up. The one thing that you want to be conscious of, if your Facebook is set up to automatically publish to your Twitter account, which I can probably determine if it is a little bit later, you don't want to, in HootSuite or any other aggregation tool, you don't want to post it to both. Otherwise, it'll get posted twice on Twitter.
Okay, gotcha.
So you just have to be careful what kind of integration you've already set up, so you're not double messaging. Okay. You can, in this, put a URL. This has a built-in shortcut, so that if you want to put in a URL that's this long, you'll make it this long. And the great thing about HootSuite is it tracks those URLs. So all within this, you have your aggregation, you have some tracking built in. So what you would do, this box right down here, you just paste in your URL, you'd hit shrink, and it would create a URL that is specific to HootSuite. So it can track it, and it will point you to wherever you want it to. So that's how you post messages. Now, this part down here is really where the fun happens. So what you have down here are different columns that allow you to see what's going on in your page. And you can set this up however you want to. What I have here is I have a group on Twitter that is local business owners that I've connected with on Twitter. And so I follow them, to see if they have anything that's either A, of interest for me to engage, or B, anything that I can help them with in terms of websites or things like that. I have a search set up, so I'm actually just out there searching on Twitter for people who are looking for help with their websites. And then I have what's called the home feed. And so what the home feed is everything from everybody I follow. So all the industry experts I follow, all the people I'm connected to, for whatever reason, that's where their information gets populated. So right from here, I can watch whatever is going on and be able to interact with it without having to log into Twitter specifically. I also have a different tab. You can set up multiple tabs for different social networks, or you can put multiple social networks on one tab if you want. And so when I say tabs, I'm talking about these things across the top here. So here's my Facebook page. And basically what this has is what I've posted out on Facebook and what I have scheduled to post on Facebook. Okay. There's not as much that you can do with Facebook as there is with Twitter in this, but there's still enough to make it worthwhile. And so even on your page, what I can see here is if somebody has liked my post, if somebody has commented on my post, and I can engage it right there, again, without having to log in directly to Facebook. If I want to post a link, it will still pull the image from the page like it would if you were directly posting it on Facebook itself. So it's a very integrated tool. I really, really like it. Any questions on this part right here? Hey, Betsy. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So the next tool we want to look at, which is another aggregation tool, is TweetDeck. This was recently acquired by Twitter, and so we expect that there will be some further developments with some of how it interacts with Twitter. But right now, it hasn't really changed a whole lot from what it was. Basically, it's very similar to HootSuite, except that it's a desktop application, which means it runs on your machine. It can work with Facebook, it can work with Twitter, it can work with LinkedIn. It does work with Foursquare, although I haven't figured out really what people would want to use it for Foursquare on. And there's a few other networks that it works with, including Google Buzz. It used to work with, that's died. I haven't seen integration quite yet with Google Plus, although I expect that will be down the road. So basically, it functions the same way. Across the top, you have the networks that you are connected to, and you just choose the one that you want it to post to. You type in your message, and they got rid of the character count. This one does not have a character counter anymore. So you just kind of have to know how long your message is. Once it gets too big, it does actually change color. So it doesn't tell you how many characters you're at. It just says, oh, that's too long, and we're going to we're going to cut it short. You can also do URL shortening. This one has several different shorteners that it can work with. In the settings, you can set it up to work with like bit.ly, which I recommend that you do register a free account there because again, it allows you some sort of tracking if you're going to use that shortener. So
what did you say,
bit.ly. If you're going to use HootSuite, you don't need to do that. This is only if you're going to use TweetDeck.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
But what you would do is just type in your URL, and then you hit this button right over here, which is the auto shorten. Oops. There we go. Sorry, auto shortening is turned on. So once you type in your URL, you hit space, it automatically shortens it down using your preferred shortener. And then you just type in your message, and again, you can either send it now or you can schedule to send in the future. Now, the challenge with this one is being it is a desktop application, you schedule something to send, and you shut the application down, it will not send. So you have to have the application run. In terms of system resources that it requires, it's modern system resources. It uses something called Adobe Air, is the platform it uses. So Adobe Air, sometimes it can be a little bit system intensive in terms of how much RAM it takes to run. What I have found is that the longer you let this thing run on your desktop, the more RAM it takes up. And so the slower your machine runs over time. So it's not something that I would recommend that you leave up for days at a time. For a work day, if you're going to use it, it's fine. But not much more. One of the fun features about this program is that when you minimize it down to your system tray, when you get messages that come in based on what you have set up here in your columns, then it actually has a pop-up message, as we've seen it a couple of times already, that says, hey, you've got this new message. And so you don't have to actually go log into the website to see what's going on. It pops up right there. The challenge with that is it can become very distracting. It can make it very difficult to be productive. So, it's got its pluses and minuses depending on what you're looking for. There's a great example of mine. So that's what the pop-up looks like. So you can turn that off if you want to. If you're going to, there's really not much benefit to switching that to the platform. I'm trying to think of anything else. I don't think there's anything else in this one.
Is there a benefit with it because it's by Twitter? So now that Twitter owns it? Okay.
No, Twitter runs, when you look at Twitter usage, Brian, you remember the stat is like 96% of Twitter users interface through a third-party client? Something like that?
Yeah.
The vast majority of people who use Twitter use it through either HootSuite or now Twitter owns TweetDeck, so that doesn't count, but through some sort of third-party application. And with doing that, what Twitter does, they've said, okay, here's the API, and their API actually works really well, which basically that means, hey, we're going to give you access to our stuff without giving you write access to our website. Okay, so it allows access to their platform without actually access to the back end of their website. And all of the tools that I've looked at are generally pretty good. If you use the right tool, there's no benefit to using something directly from Twitter as opposed to using that tool.
Okay.
The reason why we're looking at these is to look and say, is there something that we can use if you're going to leverage multiple platforms so you don't have to log into multiple websites? So you cut down on your time, and also you can be more productive through scheduling and cross-posting and that kind of thing. So, yes, ma'am.
On the HootSuite,
Yep.
if I have a blog and I will it post to my blog too, like if I'm can I have that linked up to it too or not?
Sort of. With HootSuite, what you can do is you can set your blog up to automatically publish to Facebook and to Twitter. So when you post a blog, it'll take your title and a link and it'll post it out there to social networks to point people to your blog. But in terms of actually editing your blog, you really want to do that through the blog itself. Because if you use a tool like this, or even most blogs, you can send something in by email and have it automatically post. The challenge with that is formatting. It's oftentimes very difficult to get it formatted the way that you want it to be and be as effective as it should be. So for blogging, I would recommend you, whenever possible, log directly into the blog to post it to edit. But the integration piece is able to then post to your social networks to draw more traffic to your blog. Okay. One thing I didn't mention, I do want to mention, all of these offer ways to respond to people, to engage folks as they're out there talking, whether they're talking directly to you or just out there posting stuff. In TweetDeck, what you do is you just mouse over the icon and it gives you the options. Okay, so we'll do that. So you can reply, you can direct message, you can retweet, and then there's other things that you can do. So you can do things like follow them, you can do things like add their tweet to a favorite. So there's several things that you can do right from here. Same things you can do over in HootSuite, it just looks a little bit different.